Warm greetings to everyone present this evening. I hope I'm audible.
Yeah, we can hear you.
All right. So, firstly, I'd like to welcome everyone. And without any further delay, I'd like to introduce you all to Friends of Elephants. And in the very beginning, we would like to clarify that Friends of Elephant is not an organization, nor is it proposing to become one. Instead, it's an informal group of people who have come together, holding varied expertise, yet sharing the common concern about elephants and other wildlife. The group is a forum for disseminating knowledge linked to elephants and other wildlife science, conservation, and welfare through various mediums like art, culture, literature, movies, talks, panel discussions, and conversations as well. These events were conducted offline in Bangalore from 2014, and now, since 2020, the events have been conducted online through various platforms. The whole idea and agenda behind these events is that people who have attended them formally or informally participate or help in developing appropriate conservation and welfare measures for wildlife, including elephants. And today, as we have already mentioned here, this event, Elephants of Assam, Human and Elephant Conflicts and Coexistence, is in collaboration with the Wildlife Academy and the Gaza Conservation Trust. Today's event is a Bihu special event. So, Rongali Bihu, which is a significant festival in Assam, is deeply connected with nature and the spring season. Celebrated during the Assamese New Year in the month of April, it marks the beginning of spring and the harvest season. The festival is characterized by traditional dances, music, and rituals that reflect the vibrant colors and energy of nature awakening from its winter slumber. And the festivities, they symbolize renewal, growth, and the cyclical rhythm of life, highlighting the community's deep bond with the natural world. Moving on, here is the itinerary to be followed for this evening, and we hope for everyone to make the most out of this event. So, beginning with hello, everyone. I am Himparna Das, a post-graduation student of the Environmental Biology and Wildlife Sciences Department of Cotton University, Assam. Previously, I have completed my bachelor's with zoology honors from the same institute. And here's my brief introduction. And today, I shall be taking you all through this entire event. So, as mentioned even earlier, today we will be first having a talk on the topic multi-stakeholders and multi-pronged approach to promote human-elephant coexistence in Assam. And the talk will be delivered by our guest speaker, Dr. Alolika Sinha ma'am. So here we introduce Dr. Alolika Sinha ma'am to everyone. So she's a conservation scientist and her work focuses on building based evidence to reverse biodiversity loss and promote coexistence. For her doctoral research, she studied how different habitat and anthropogenic factors influence the grassland obligate and a highly threatened species, the hog deer. Her current work focuses on facilitating human-elephant coexistence through a multi-pronged approach of habitat revival and engagement with multi-stakeholder. And for her work, she was nominated as an International Visitor Leadership Program Fellow, USA, in 2023. We welcome Dr. Alolika ma'am to this event and request her to deliver her talk. Ma'am, you can take it forward.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Himparna.
Yes, ma'am.
Am I both audible and visible?
Yes, Anolika, you're both audible and
Okay, yeah. Thank you for that introduction. And So I think without further delay, I would like to straight away start my presentation. Let me know once you see my presentation on the screen. Can you see the presentation?
Yeah, we're able to see it.
Yes.
Okay. I'm also trying by changing my slides. Do you see that as well? I'm
Yes.
changing. Okay.
Yes, yes, yes.
Yeah. Okay. Back to my cover slide. Okay, so hello everyone. Thank you for taking your time and showing your interest in listening to the work that we do. I am Alolika Sinha. I work with RNet. I'm a senior conservation biologist and have been working in this landscape and in the organization for the last 15 years. And as Himparna, through our introduction, has mentioned, that my conservation work spans across habitat revival and mitigating human-elephant conflict to promote coexistence by engaging multiple people from multiple, walks of life. And that's why I have named this talk of mine as multi-stakeholder and multi-pronged approach to promote human-elephant coexistence. As you all might know, that elephant being a wide-ranging species, it needs a very expensive resources. So you cannot just the elephants cannot just remain confined to the protected areas. It needs vast stretches of habitat, and that's what bring elephants in more and more confrontation with the people. Not all those confrontation are negative, of course, but there are high chances and there is a high likelihood that that can be turned into a negative one. And although all those negative incidents that occur in the form of crop foraging by wild elephants, destruction of properties, accidental killing of both people and also people in retaliation killing elephants, we term it as a whole as human elephant conflict. And what RNEC has been doing for the past almost 2 decades now to manage this conflict and help people coexist with these gentle giants. Moving on, uh, RNX approach has been very systematic. So what we first did is we started collecting information from published literature, newspaper reports, forest department data, and we started putting them all together. First in an Excel file, and then we converted those information and produced this map, as you can see on the screen. All those red marks in that map shows the region, the areas where human elephant conflict is prevalent in Assam. In the western part of Assam, along the northwestern boundary, you see where you can see those markings like Manas, Bornode, and Orang. So those region that comprise of Baksa and Udalguri districts, uh, down south in the Gwalpara districts. So these are some of the major hotspots of human-elephant conflict in Assam. Uh, uh, um, in an year, from these areas, around 60 to 80 elephants and people are a victim of human-elephant conflict. And besides these two major hotspots, there are also other areas where human-elephant conflict is reported in varied degree. So we first wanted to know how the human elephant conflict situation in Assam looks like. And this map gives us a glimpse of, okay, these are the areas which are hotspot. Then there are other areas which are, slowly emerging to be human elephant conflict affected areas. So having this information in hand, we also try to understand like what are the potential drivers of human elephant conflict in these areas. And as you all know that one of the primary reasons of HEC is loss of their habitat, loss of their corridors, the increase of human population, more resource sharing. Both the elephants and people, need the same resources, the land, the food, and there are more of resource sharing happening, and that brings both elephants and people together, face to face with each other. And as a result of this, it affects the livelihoods of people, the lives of people, beyond the physical damages that happens in AGC, there are other impacts that in many times go unnoticed. Those are on emotional security, on the health of people that coexist with the species. In longer term, it also impacts on the food and nutrition security and overall well-being of the people. Even the elephant, like it's not that the overall well-being of the only the people are affected, but the elephants are also at stake. They have to constantly be in teeth, fighting for resources with people, and so elephants are also equally at stress. But those are the things that for the Asian elephants at least has not been fully studied, and there are a lot of scope of uh, conducting research to understand how the how elephants' behavior is shaped by human-elephant conflict. Again, uh, two major species, elephant and people, sharing the same resources, and that gives rise to a number of issues. So I have termed this that human-elephant conflict is not just a wildlife issue; it's a multi-layered issue. It impacts the socio-economic condition of the people, and there are a number of reasons. First is the dwindling forest. Sometimes the relationship, in many cases we have seen across India, that the relationship between the forest department and the villagers are not always cordial. It's not like someone is at fault, but the expectation of the department or the people are quite high or quite different from each other, and that leads to not a very good rapport between them in many cases. uh, with increased number of incidents of HEC, what we have seen in field, and also like the tolerance level of the local community is slowly declining. There are more number of deliberate killings that has been happening in recent times if we compare with earlier times. Also, there are lack of policies that suggest that how land use can be taken up. There are limited government schemes that can help mitigate HEC. Poor governance. There's a lack of cooperation, interdepartmental cooperation. When we talk of elephants, there are a number of government departments that can play an active role in helping mitigating the conflict. It's not like that it's a wildlife, so it has to be the forest department's responsibility, but there are the agriculture department plays a very important role. The power department plays a very important role, but in many times we have seen that there is a lack of this interdepartmental cooperation, or there is a lack of understanding that okay, these many department needs to come together to help protect the species as well as the elephants as well as the people. So as it include as the problem is multi-layered, it involves a lot many agencies, so it also needs a very multi-pronged approach. So if we put human elephant coexistence as our target, as our aim, uh, uh, and so with this a diagram, I would like to highlight that if we put the human elephant coexistence as one of our aims, so what are the factors that we need to work upon? We need to protect the elephants and their habitat. We need to ensure that elephants, as you might know, that elephants use traditional migratory routes to travel across an area. So we know we need those uninterrupted, undisturbed, movement to be facilitated. We need to have better governance. The people, if you look into the conflict incidents, most of the AGC incidents happens in rural areas with very low economies of the people. Suppose I'm a villager, I have 1 hectare of land, and I cultivate it, and I get my food supply for a year, and then a herd of elephant comes and forage on those crop. I lose my entire year's of food access. That impacts my livelihood. So how we need to work with people to offset those losses, that will help restoring the tolerance level mm, people of our elephants. Also, there are a lot of there's an urgent need of outreach in many different forms, talking about elephants, how the elephants were always there, what we might need to do, what the smarter ways can be to so that they can coexist, how we can help, how we can use new technologies, new tools to inform better, to help in coexistence. So if we put the aim of promoting human elephant coexistence, we need to take care of lot of things, ranging from it securing its habitat to securing the people, to application of technology, and also community empowerment to tackle this. So having an understanding of this, how elephants need a multi-pronged approach, we envisioned and we developed. There is a very standard protocol nowadays. It's called conservation standards, which helps in planning out a project. So we have, so our RNX vision is to secure elephants and their habitats by aiding coexistence in Northeast India and adjoining transboundary landscape. And through this vision, we have targeted around 3,000 elephants that exist across these areas. 6,000 square kilometer of habitat and around 3 million people. So our target is to work for securing 6,000 square kilometer habitat to protect around 3,000 people, and also to protect ensure well-being of around 3 million people in this landscape. In the pictures below, I've put something that is very technical. So this is what we call it result chain. So if I have to put it simply, we think of, okay, how to protect an animal. I'm not sure whether you can read this aloud, but in the yellow box on the left hand side, what I have written is habitat revival. Like if we have to revive habitat of elephants, what are the all elements that we need to take care of, and who are the potential stakeholders that needs to be engaged to help protect the habitat, and how habitat protection can actually help in protection of elephant and other things. So through this brainstorming, bringing in expertise, we developed this conservation action plan for RNF for the next 20 years. And with this vision, we have uh, started our intervention. So one of our efforts is very recently, like in last 1.5 years, the IUCN has come up with a guideline on human wildlife conflict and coexistence. And in this guideline, they have highlighted how systematically we can approach, what can be a systematic approach to better help the elephants and the people. So one of the uh, how do I put it? So, according to this guideline, there are certain principles, there are certain guidelines that can help you with starting your work. One of them is profiling I've listed them down, and what we are doing in Assam. So, profiling the problem and building evidence. The second is promoting security for people and elephants by different outreach methods, protecting livelihoods and assets, promoting supplementary livelihoods, and sharing of knowledge. First, we wanted to understand, okay, what is the problem, what is the scale of the problem, and then subsequently go for its intervention. Our approaches has always been a bottom up, and we work with local communities, the government line departments, the media, other grassroots organization, help them bring all together to help reduce ATC. So one of the first approaches is understanding ATC and the people who are impacted by ATC. We use focus group discussions, RRA's rapid rural appraisal and participatory rural appraisal to understand what is the what is the scale of the problem in those villages, in those areas. In the picture on the upper right hand side, here you can see a glimpse of how we are talking to the community, and the community helping us understand. Those are the village maps that they are trying with Rangoli. So they are making us understand, okay, this is our village, it looks like this, elephants come from this side of the river, or that side of the there's a forest on the north. So all those, so the first approach is to understand the area and understand the scale of the problem before we go for any intervention, through focus group discussion, knowledge sharing, and everything. Once we have a better understanding of the problem, okay, like there are 5 human elephant conflict incidents that happen in an year, or the 2 people have been injured or killed in the last 2 years. So we gather all this information, and then after we have an proper understanding of that area, we go for our intervention. One of our intervention is through education and outreach. So in the last in 2022, we organized a workshop, and so there are a lot of material, information, education, communication materials on elephant that exists, that has been developed over time by different organizations, by different institutes. So in that workshop in 2022 that we organized, we wanted to see, okay, where are the gap areas. There was no point of repeating the same things. So we sat together with experts, with conservationists, with artists, and we felt, okay, we need, though there are a lot of education materials, but we are communicating this to the villagers. So we need to start from a very basic things. So we developed this campaign, what we call Gaja. Gaja means elephant stories, and under this Gaja we have developed two phases. The first phase, as you can see from the poster on the leftmost sides, so we have developed posters like this. In the first phase, we have delved into what is elephant, the basic difference between African and Asian elephants, how elephants are always culturally, interlinked with people, what are the elephants' conservation needs, what we must as we must do as a citizen of India to protect our, national heritage animal. And in that phase, we have developed 20 such posters. In the right hand side, and the upper right hand side, you can see all those posters being used to explain it to people and children on elephants. Well, the second phase of our Gajakotha campaign talks about how to effectively mitigate human-elephant conflict. And for this, we have, used our own examples. Arendek has been working on mitigating HEC for last 20 years. So we have put together all our successes, failures, learnings, improvisation, and put together, another set of posters that talks of human elephant effectively mitigating human elephant conflict through various methods, by leveraging technology, using nature based solution, building capacity of people through various measures. And through this Gajakotha campaign, we have directly reached out to more than 50,000 people in the last 1 year. While conducting the focal group discussion and taking an understanding of the problem, what we have realized that, as I've already mentioned, that human elephant conflict incidents happens mostly in rural areas. There are issues of accessibility, there are issues of lack of facilities, and in many cases we have found that the most instant response when elephants come in a human habitation is to run for your life, either to chase away the elephants, or you run for your life. And in all these cases, there are high chances that a person get injured. They trip over while chasing the elephants. When the elephants come, they have to carry their baby or elderly parents. There are a lot of injuries that happen. And since those are elephant bearing areas and the medical facilities are often not sufficient, so many of them remains unaddressed and unattended. So that is something that came up during our focus group discussion with people. And women is one of the most vulnerable. In Assam, there is a I would say a social problem where many men of the villages, they travel outside of their villages to the neighboring states, the neighboring towns for earning livelihood. And these women are left behind to fend for the family. They have children, they have elderly parents. So we felt that they were the most vulnerable group of people for ATC. And during our discussions, one-to-one interactions, we have found that the women and the people and the other men of the villages have also very prominently flagged this out. Okay, there are many cases whenever we do not have access to first aid and all. So taking cognizance of this, we collaborated with the state disaster response teams, the civil defense departments across each state, and we organized these trainings, this hands-on training, to build the capacity of the local villagers. Here are a few glimpses. And in many cases, we have found that only the males are interested, but we have taken an extra effort because it's the women who are always in the house and they can have a more direct connection. So we have worked with women in particular to provide this training. And during the year 24-25, around 15 such trainings were conducted, uh, training almost 600 women. Another very important stakeholder of human elephant conflict mitigation are the journalists. We, if you read the newspaper in the morning, most of the news that you see on elephant and human elephant conflict are the negative stories. X number of people died because X number of people were killed by elephants. Two elephants were killed by people, elephants creating havoc. In Assam, we have a trend of naming any elephant that causes conflict as Laden. So there are always the negative connotation that happens. So we as a group, as a responsible conservation organization, we try and see how we can mold that story, how we can bring out something positive of these incidents, and that will help garner support by the local communities, as well as by the government. And there are success stories on this. You all might know the cases of how Mumbai was once a hotspot for so much of leopards straying out and causing all those incidents. But slowly that has been changed. The fear has now been changed to deal with it. So we have a similar, I would say, similar target, that how positive stories, positive people's testimonial can help garner support for AGC. And with that intention, we have conducted more than 7 workshops, particularly targeting journalists across Assam. Coming to the mitigation part, so how we actually help mitigate AGC. One of them is very commonly used, the solar powered electric fence. Solar is a technology very, very important in helping mitigating AGC, be it solar street light, be it solar fences. Our model here is slightly different from the government. Is what we engage community out and out. From the very first day of planning to implementing to maintaining is what is done by community. We just act as a facilitator. Suppose all our interventions are very data driven. Suppose we have come to know that there are elephants visiting this and that villages. We go to the villages, we talk to people, we talk to the forest, at the range level, to the forest personnel, and also we conduct survey to understand what is the elephants use of that area, from which direction the elephants are coming, or what are the areas that are being used by the elephants. Gaining an understanding of that, we talk to the community that whether they are interested in putting solar fences, or in many cases what we see, that there are already fences that are lethal implemented by the villagers, and we try and convert those into non-lethal solar powered electric fences. So the basic procedure is we bring together people, we train them. So we have an expert, as you can see from the picture on the upper left hand side. So we first do a 2 days training. We train the people on how to install a solar fence. And very recently we have come up with a handbook in Assamese language to aid this process. So we first train them and then we engage them. So it's a mm, uh, almost a 50-50 contribution process. So we are RNet, we provide technical expertise and the equipments like the energizer, the battery, the wares, whereas the people, the villagers whose villages are going to be protected through these fences, put in their labor, help us finding these poles. So there is a, and we do it with such an community engagement, so that there is an ownership. Because maybe 2 years down the line or 3 years down the line, our neck might not be working in that area. So if the community have an ownership, okay, this is our fence, we install it, and how to maintain it, then by that way we ensure the longevity of these fences. The first fence Aranac has put up was in the year 2014 in the district of Baksa, and it's 11 years down the line and it's still functional. And we credit this success because of our approach of engaging local communities. So in the last 2 years, we have almost installed around 140 kilometer of solar fences. One of the remarkable, solar fence intervention was in schools. When we were working in the field, we could see that there are schools which do not have much turn up of students. One of the primary reasons for that was elephants. So nowadays in the schools we have this midday meals, and there are stores which store this grocery and salt and rice, and that makes a very attractive a food source for the elephants. So there are schools that are destroyed by elephants. So there was one particular school, I'm forgetting the name now. In an year, that school was visited by elephants 18 times, and the parents didn't feel safe enough to send their children. So we have talked to the school committee, to the school inspectors, and in last 1 year we have secured five such schools in the districts of Udalguri, Golaghat, and Nagaon. And after we installed the fences, we went back after 6 months, and we could clearly see the students, turning up, the teachers by saying that okay, now the parents feel secure and they send their children to school because it has been protected for elephants. So that was something very remarkable, as we all know that our right to education, and something like this cannot stop children from education. So that is something that we look forward to, and we also have in our plan to secure more such schools. Here I give you, another anecdotal story. You see on the right and most side there is this solar street light. Again, these solar street lights are very strategically placed. We place them in areas to increase the visibility of the visibility of the people, so that they can see the elephants from a far distance, and that avoids a lot of accidental encounters between elephants and people. In in a village called Dakurbita in the Gwalpara district of Assam, mm, before we installed this solar street lights, the people, because the area was very dark, with one side, complete forest, on the other side there was these villages. And by the evening, the women and the children of the houses, they used to go and take refuge in a nearby railway station called Pancharatna, because the area was lighted. So they would spend the entire night there, come back to their home in the morning, do their chores, get engaged in activities, and again by the evening they would retreat to the railway station for their safety and security. But once we installed these solar street lights, they said that they feel secure because they could see the elephants coming out of the forest, and that's helped them prepare on how to deal with the elephants. So very simple step. A solar street light costing between 20 to 30,000, you know, 5 6 such solar street light in a village can have such an huge impact. That was something, that keeps us going. Around 100 households getting sorry yeah, around 100 households getting protected by those, solar street lights, and they could they didn't have to go back to the railway station every now and then. So all this very simple intervention done strategically can help securing people's well-being, both physically, emotionally, and financially. So through our approach of providing community managed solar fences and the street lights, we have secured life of more than 30,000 people, directly or indirectly. Then last year we have this opportunity, a support from SBI Foundation of India, to develop a app. We call it Hati app. It is mostly functional in Assam now. So this app actually helps us to monitor HEC, uh, uh, record the incidence of HEC, and also help people to facilitate people to apply for government compensation. I would say the momentum of the app is is a bit slow. So this has been launched last year in August, but as you know that all many of the incidents happens in the rural areas, and people are not very well versed with the technology, but things are adding up to it. The momentum is on, and now we have many incidents in a month that are recorded in the app, and this we share with the forest department as well. There are application forms in this app that our team help people to fill up for claiming compensation. So this is something that we have tried out, and I think in time will be through with the progress of time we'll be better able to see how this is helping more in mitigating human elephant conflict. But as of now, for the last 8 months, it has been in place. We have a very good record of ATC incidents being recorded here by the people, by the local people, as well as by our project teams. This is something again a very nature-based solution that we are trying. In many areas, the local people have stopped cultivation of paddy because they do this paddy cultivation, and it is always forested upon by the wild elephants. So there are many areas left abandoned, and that impacts the livelihood of these people. So what we have done here, around 2017, between 17-18, we have tried out different crops that do not attract elephants as such, like the crops that have good market value but are not palatable by elephants, some of them being ginger, turmeric, then taro leaves. So this we have already tried and tested, and having seen a good results, we now encourage people to cultivate these native crops that can yield a better produce, that can help them generate income, and also uh, to offset the losses that would otherwise happen by paddy cultivation. And in the last 1 year, we have provided local communities with more than 1000 kg of this variety of alternative crops. Also, working in the villages, we had seen that there are a lot of information floating around, but that was not put into something very constructive use. And then the idea of forming elephant conservation network clicked. So so in certain parts we call, in the western part of Assam we call it elephant conservation network, ECN members, while in the eastern part we call them as rapid response units, the RRUs. These are basically group of villagers who monitor elephants in their locality and act as early warning system. So ECN members, these are all villagers. We have brought them together, and we could already see that they know where the elephants are coming from, at what time the elephants are coming, but this all existed in a very isolated fashion. So we brought them together, and most of them nowadays have Android phones. So we created a dedicated WhatsApp group with all these members added in that group, and now they share this information through this WhatsApp group, and that acts as an early warning for the villagers. And in our project villages, in our areas of intervention, we could see that through this community managed early warning system, we have been able to reduce accidental encounters between elephants and people by more than 20%. So once we form this ECN, we have a full day training session. So we tell them what to look for, or share their stories, how they go for looking elephants in Assam. Also, elephant teasing, what we call, like when the elephant is out in the villages, a lot of young lads get engaged throwing stones at them, or catapulting them. So those are the things that needs to be stopped, so that we don't turn the elephants to be aggressive. So these are the certain things that we discuss and talk about, and these ECN members, they do it voluntarily, like sharing information and helping us reaching out to people. So we provide them with field kits like raincoat, boots, t-shirts, to boost their morale, as well as to keep them engaged and acknowledge their volunteering effort in helping mitigating um, conflict. So across Assam and in West Garo Hills of Meghalaya, we have more than 30 ECNs and RRUs, with more than 1,000 people directly engaged with these ASEAN groups, acting as community early warning system. So here is a photo on the right hand side of a WhatsApp group from Jajimukh in Jorhat. So here is how they share information about elephants, sometimes through voice message, through text, through videos. And we also support them with very minimal mitigation tools like a torchlight to look for elephants and all these things. So this is another approach. So far I've talked about how we leverage technology to protect our crop fields, human habitation, how we empower people through education, outreach, capacity building, trainings. We have also used nature-based solutions like the Assam lemon. Assam lemon has last year been also found its GI tag. As you can see from the picture on the right hand side, those are the lemon plants. So this we tried as a very small project in Eastern Assam Sibsagar district. What we did here was we planted lemon saplings in 3 rows at an alternate position uh, around the crop fields of this farmer who is standing in the middle. So after 3 years, these plants grew huge. They grew into bushes, and this lemon plants have got spikes, and they really get bushy. And when planted in 3 different rows and alternate position, it provides a very secure fence that elephants or other wildlife like the wild pigs cannot penetrate through it, and that helps protecting the crops that is grown inside those farms. So this model has been very successful. This particular farmer, besides harvesting its entire yield successfully inside this crop field, was also able to earn around rupees 3,000 per week by selling these lemons. So this takes time, around 2 to 3 years, for the income to become functional. But once it is grown, there's a good source of income, as well as helps protect the original cultivation inside those fences. So this was the model that we tested in Chipsagar, and now we have scaled up this work and uh, spread across Eastern Assam to protect the crops. Well, speaking of all those interventions that RNEC has been doing, those are we see as a more of site specific and short term. In the longer run, as you know, that ATC's one of the main drivers is loss of forest, its habitation, its habitat, its corridors. So we must secure its habitat to have a long term solution to minimize ATC. But having said this, bringing back habitat is just it's a very resource intensive process. You need money, you need time, you need land, to help get to this point. So we in 2023 we have started with this very humble approach of securing around 100 hectare of area, which is a mosaic of woodland and grassland, to secure elephants habitat in one of the most HEC affected district of Assam, in Udalguri. And there we have collaborated with the Joint Forest Management Committee, established again community managed nursery to revive this habitat. So through these pictures, and before the actual intervention of planting trees, we conducted surveys to understand what could be the best possible way to revive the degraded habitats. And since it's a mosaic of grassland and woodland, we have planted grasses, shrubs, and tree saplings, as well as managed invasive plants by uprooting to bring back these grasslands. So in the last 2 years, in the last 1 year, in 24-25, we have planted around 1,000 native plants, and these native saplings were mostly grown in our nursery. So we have identified around 34 species of native plants that are found in that area, which are uh, which elephants use as their food sources, and we are planting only the native species in this 100 hectare of area. While we work with the local community, work towards this long-term solution of habitat revival, we also felt, as I mentioned during the starting of my presentation, that there exists a gap, interdepartmental gap. The civil administration, the police, the forest department, the power department, the agriculture department, they all play a very important role in mitigating this human elephant conflict. But all of them are somewhere isolated, and they do not work in tandem. We felt that while working in ATC affected areas, and now we try to bring them all together. So consultation workshops we approach the district administration, the DC, and apprise him, okay, these are the things that needs to be done collaboratively, cohesively, to reduce the problem of HEC. So in the last 2 years we have conducted 6 consultation workshops in DC's presence, and apprise the other line departments on their roles and responsibilities, and how working cooperatively can help mitigate HEC. And as a result of this consultation workshop, now we have a informal platform, I would say, informal collaboration between the forest departments of Assam and Meghalaya. Now they go on monitoring the elephants together, and they share information about the whereabouts of elephants across borders. So that is something that we can add to our success, that we have helped bridging that gap. And we are also, the process is slow, of course, I must admit. Sometimes it's also very frustrating, not that all of come together at a once, or it takes time. So but we are being patient and trying to help people out by bringing all of this together to facilitate coexistence. Mitigating human elephant conflict or human wildlife conflict per se is not that easy. Particularly in case of elephants, the scale at which the conflict is happening today is much more than the resources we have to address it. As I mentioned, that it is mostly concentrated in the rural areas with very low economics, and that what we feel is magnify the issues. Suppose I have a 1 hectare of land, and my entire livelihood depends on that cultivation, and one night a herd of elephant comes and forage on this, so I'm impacted for the entire year. That impacts my child education, that impacts my financial, emotional well-being. So one dot incident can, I don't know, magnify the issue to a certain extent that people, you know, uh, as a retaliation, kill elephants. And also, we feel that so far in India, most of the damages, what we see from human elephant conflict, are the physical damages, like 2 houses were damaged, 100 hectares of crop field has been forest upon. But there's a very limited understanding on how this all of this together impact a person's uh, emotional well-being. We have heard stories while doing focus group discussions that people from certain villages, people do not marry off their daughters in certain villages which have this human elephant conflict, because they do not know how to deal with it, or they are scared for their daughter's life. So those are the a few things out there that has never been talked about or never been taken care of. So there exists a research gap, I would say, in understanding those social psychological impact. And unless we have all those information, or a better understanding of how human elephant conflict have this impinging problem on the social lives, on the emotional well-being of the people, we do not have the complete picture of addressing the issue. And of course, as I mentioned, that mitigating human elephant conflict requires long-term investment of resources and time. Sometimes the progress is very slow. It doesn't happen overnight, that we put a 1 kilometer long fences and from the next day the elephant stops coming or the crops are protected. So you have to be continuously, it always keeps you on your toes. You have to continuously be enterprising on how to innovate things, how the thing, elephant being a very intelligent animal, it's just a matter of time that they outperform all these mitigation tools. So we need a long-term investment of resources, of ideas, of time to help promote coexistence. So our next motto is we aim to continue our consolidated effort by engaging multi-stakeholders through multi-pronged approach to facilitate coexistence and ensure well-being of both the species. And through this, I come to the end of my presentation. I would also like to highlight that we almost, positively impact around 8 sustainable development goals, that we, through our work, we are trying to alleviate poverty, improve well-being of people, help in quality education, help mitigate climate crisis, secure life on both earth and water. So we almost touch upon around 7 to 8 SDGs. And with this, I end my presentation and have a list of people and donors and supporters, without whose support, this work wouldn't have been possible at such a large scale. Thank you. Over to you, Himashri.
Yes, ma'am.
Himparna, you're on mute, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'd like to thank Alolika ma'am for this beautiful presentation, for taking us through the various aspects that covers the human-elephant conflict, about the prevalence, about the challenges, and about RNF's mission, and also regarding these new information about how Assam lemon was used as a biofence, or how the Hati app is working. So we're really grateful to have had heard from you. And now moving on, we will be having a conversation discussing that's leveraging technology and local community engagement and approach to enable coexistence. And this conversation will be with Ms. Seema Lokhandwala in conversation with Dr. Alolika Sinha ma'am herself. So Seema ma'am, she's an engineer turned elephant biologist with years of experience in wildlife conservation, specializing in elephant communication, behavior, and ecology. And she has worked on several conservation projects in the Kaziranga Kabiang landscape in Assam. And she has focused on elephant population dynamics and movement ecology. Currently, leading the elephant acoustic projects, and which is developing acoustic sensors to mitigate human elephant negative interactions. She is pursuing a PhD at the Indian Institute of Technology, Guwahati, studying acoustic communication in Asian elephants. Ma'am, I'd like to hand it over to you and take forward the conversation.
Thank you, Himparna. Your name is a tongue twister in some sense, but yeah, thank you for, I'm getting used to it. Thank you for the introduction. And Alolika, of course, I've known you for so many years now. Thank you for a detailed presentation and the work that Aranyak has been doing for so many years. It's phenomenal to see come to fruition. It's like there are these multi-level approaches that everybody talks about, but certain NGOs only can achieve them. Aranyak being one of them is really good to see all the work fruition over the years that has happened. Thank you for the presentation. Thank you for the detailed presentation.
Thank you for
Yes.
pushing me through it, Seema. We have been in this conversation for 2 months. Finally, I think at certain point, Verma sir left hope. Nothing was materializing, but I'm glad that we could make it.
Yes,
Yeah.
we're glad that we could make it because we've been trying to push through a lot with this conversation. So now moving towards the part that Aranyak is already working on is mostly about technology. And now with the new technology sector that is coming into picture, where the AI is coming into picture, which we aren't very much aware about for that matter of fact. How does Aranyak fit into, like, even the Hati app in some ways is built on AI, correct? So
Right.
how does, and what are the challenges that you are facing with the Hati app? You spoke briefly about it, that currently the app is been launched on the 12th August last year on World Elephant Day. And so what are the challenges that Aranyak or the app, like the ones that have been using where we're leveraging technology itself, but there is challenges with technology. So how does that work?
Yeah. So as I mentioned, that a very simple technology, the solar street light, sometimes can have a very large impact, a very good positive impact. The thing is, we are talking about two very contradictory things. Technology, we mostly connect it to the urban people for some reason. I do not know why, but for suppose when we picture a farmer, it's always a male taking an plow or whatever it is. It's not you never perceive women as a farmer for some reason in all the posters, everything. Similar with the technology thing. When we talk about technology, we think of cities, we think of urban population. But Aranyak, I would say, has used this technology in very, very remote areas uh, to to generate information to help mitigate conflict. Something now I realize when you asked me a question, I something I missed out in my presentation was how we are also using radio coloring. We have recently, in the last 4 months, we have radio collared two elephants to understand its movement pattern, to understand which are the areas that it frequently visits, and how we can help from those information, have help reduce that confrontation between people and elephant. Particularly of the Hathi app. So when we launched the Hathi app, we were very, very hopeful that a lot of information will be coming in. But for the first 1 month, things were not progressing as we expected. There was a lot of promotion that happened. So we launched this Hati app. There was the power department minister who launched this app. There was a lot of media coverage, but again, all those remain confined to the urban population. The people who will actually use it, I do not know whether it didn't reach them or whether it reached them and then they didn't act upon it. That I'm not very sure of. But the target of getting information from the ground, from these rural areas, was not as promising as in the first 1 month or so. So then what we did, okay, we have this technology, we have AI, we have the app, but we also have this manual, we went door to door in a way. We have our ECN groups, we have our RRU groups. So we spoke about our Hati app to them. And we kind of had a demonstration. Okay, ye information is mein dalna hai. We need to put this out in is it. So once we started doing it, it gained momentum, and now we have a lot of information coming in. So through this, through this long, if we have to cut this long story short, what I would suggest is uh, technology cannot be a standalone thing. If we have to implement technology, we have to have this additional, manpower who, initially, like more manpower, more, human resources to understand this, to implement this. And maybe over the times, it will flip, the technology taking over, and we need less and less of people's presence. But technology as of now, in a country like India, where etc happens in rural areas, technology cannot be a standalone thing. That's what I believe. Mm.
That's like a very clear-cut answer, and that's a really good thing. So we always keep saying in our presentations also is that technology is an enabler and technology is not a solution provider. So
Right, I
if it
agree.
you could just think of technology as something that would enable you to do things better and not something that will actually do your things. Like especially when we talk about acoustics or when we talk about any of the other things that we work on, it's always been like that. I think there are a few questions that have been coming upon about how AI has been using, but yeah,
Yeah.
we will take that forward. I think the
Okay.
moderator will take them
Yeah.
forward. But yeah,
Yeah. But
that's one thing.
Seema,
Thank
I
you
have
for
a question for
being
you.
precise about it.
Yeah, I have a question for you, Seema. You
Yeah,
have
go
been
ahead.
using acoustic extensively, right? So what are your viewpoint on this? Like, first of all, you already mentioned that it's an enabler. Like, but if you have to further deep digger, what would you say? How the experience has been?
Okay. So So there is something called bioacoustics. It's very well studied, at least when it comes to birds, where it comes to other species where you can find. But when it comes to mammals, we don't know bioacoustics at all. And not just elephants per se, but any mammal. Like we don't know lions, roars, and we don't know tigers' vocalizations, cheetahs' vocalizations. We don't know mammal vocalizations, or we know what they vocalize. When do they vocalize? How do they vocalize? Even the basic rudimentary studies have been very rudimentary. Okay, so we have been first, the research itself is lacking. So now from the research, you are going towards implementation of the research. And when the implementation of acoustics happens, most people would want to use acoustic as a deterrent system where you can deter the elements, like with the solar fence that you're putting along. If the solar fence get broken, what if the next step it is like triple alarms, which can detect the elephant that we're doing? So that's what we're doing right now in Kaziranga, Karbi Anglong, that we're putting triple alarms, we're putting solar fence. So it can act as a second round of technology, like a second version of it. So that way it can work on. But like acoustic trip alarms or acoustic deterrents, where we talk about these round robin calls where they're made in a different sequence, where first you play either elephant rumbles, musk rumbles, then other calls that elephant gets disturbed about, like something like bee sounds, but make them so everybody will keep agreeing that elephants are very intelligent species, so they get used to these sounds. So the best is to play them in round robin or play them in such a way that it is like a surprise element to them, not thing that they get used to over a period of time. And never outsource and use like the same way with solar fence. If you use extensive solar fence, elephants are going to get used to it and then they're going to break it repeatedly. It's the same way that where the elephants are not aware about it, use acoustics in some little ways so that they don't get used to it, don't get habituated to it. It's just like an additional that can make. Yes, that's one thing.
Okay. Yeah.
And me and Alolika keep talking about like a lot of elephant stuff. So I pretty much we like it's like I'm talking to a friend, but just everybody is listening to it. Yeah, but it's like, yeah. Yeah, I've learned a lot from her in the because she's quite senior to me, but I've learned a lot from her during her work in RNA. So yeah, for quite a few years.
No, it has
And
been mutual.
but she does also a lot of restoration work, which she didn't talk about in the presentation. And it'll be good that if you can just give a light on some of the grassland restoration work that you do as
Right.
a part of. Yes.
Sure.
Well,
Yeah, so yeah, it was like I was talking about so much of thing. I just touch bases, so people who are present here, if they're interested to know more about any of those aspects, I would be happy to connect over through email or WhatsApp, whatever. Yeah, coming about the restoration thing. So about particularly the grassland restoration that we were doing in Manas. So restoration is pretty much in vogue, I would say, now, with the UN declaring 2020 to 2030 as a restoration decade. But we have started our work much earlier. So in 2013-14 we started our grassland restoration work. The grasslands are again very important for the elephants and also for the other animals. If you see the Asian elephants, most of the foraging happens in the grasslands in our geographical span, be it Kaziranga, Manas, or wherever. So what we found was the grasslands of Manas was slowly declining. In the last 30-35 years, we have almost lost like 50% of the total grassland cover in Manas, and whatever was left were also degraded because of invasive species and all. So we kind of pioneered that work. We collected information. We developed these risk maps to understand, okay, today this is a condition, there are this many areas which are invaded by unwanted weeds. What if we do not act upon this, we do not do anything on it, how the grassland will look like? And the scenario was very disturbing. If we do not act, if we wouldn't have act on it, the entire grassland was prone to the invasion and degradation. So that's when we started our intervention work. We conducted experiments to narrow down to particular approach that will be ecologically efficient as well, to protect and revive the grasslands. And manual uprooting of the invasive plants uh, proved to be the most effective way. And there's also an added advantage to that. We engage a lot of people from the fringe areas of the park, and that helped as their supplemented their livelihood as well. So in the last 10 years, we have restored more than 500 hectares of pristine grasslands. I am sorry I don't have photos to show, but if someone is interested, they can refer back to our next website and write-ups that I have put. There's a published paper and also some popular articles that talks about this work. And there's also an YouTube video at RNX official YouTube channel. So one may refer to that as well. Yeah, thank you.
oh, that
Okay.
yes, that's nice to see. So I was thinking there are like really interesting questions in the chat. So should we just give back to Himparna and then she can take it over? Should we close the conversation just for the interest of time, which is already 7:37, and
Yeah,
then we will have to take questions just for interest of time? And there's like really nice questions. Just for the interest of time, we just closing. We'll take on the questions that are there. So on to you, Himparna. Okay. Hi, John. Joy.
I don't see Himparna. Ish.
Yes, ma'am, I'll be taking over from here.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah. So as we are done with the conversation, we will now moving on to the Q&A session, and we already have lots of interesting questions coming up to the chat. And the Q&A session will be moderated by Mr. Rubul Tanti. And Rubul Tanti is a wildlife biologist associated with Aranya, and currently he is pursuing his PhD on Asian elephant distribution pattern, population, and habitat use in eastern South Bank landscape of Assam, northeastern India. Sir, if you can hear me, you can take over from now.
Thank you, Himparna.
Yes.
Am I audible?
Yes, sir, you're audible. You can take over from now.
Yes. So first of all, a very good evening to Dr. Alolika Sinha and Miss Seema Lokhandwala. Really, it was a wonderful talk, and your discussion was also quite interesting. And it was very good to hear both from you about the elephants and all sort of approaches, bottom approaches, and for mitigating human-elephant conflict, and also bring coexistence, and also about different types of leveraging technologies, how we all are using this to mitigate this human-elephant conflict. So we have all sorts of question type in the chat box. So let me go one by one. So we have the first question is, how safe is the Hathi app from the data leaks?
Right. So we'll take one question at a time, Rahul?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, okay. Right. So Hathi app helps in compiling the data that is already there. It's nothing that there is no, no privacy data that we're reading. It's about a number of elephants, that has been killed through retaliation, or the land area that the cropland area that elephant forest upon. So there are I don't see an issue. Those information are already there in the public, in the village level, so I don't see an issue of data leak. And also so we have filled in the app, we have filtered the district wise data documentation. Like the users in Baksa will only be able to view the data of Baksa. So that is what we have something. Who raised this question, by the way?
Amlan Goswami.
So Amlan, what kind of data leaks are you trying to ask here? If it's about how like the ATC incidents or something else, we are not taking any other information like socioeconomic or something like that.
I feel Amlan is asking about mostly it can lead to poaching. So if you're looking at elephant data, like in the sense, but Amlan, it is not that they're clicking elephant photos or any of those kind of things. It is not about that. Think of it as like the compensatory part of it. Like if the compensation has to be given, what is the kind of conflict that has happened, who has been killed, that kind of information is what they're collecting. If they're not collecting the other part of it about elephant movement, any of those kind of
No,
information.
it's mostly ATC incidents. Yeah.
So HEC incident. So think of it like in something like in Karnataka where there was this app. There was an app in Karnataka, I remember by Karant and the team, where they use these compensatory forms that they fill. So something of that sort. And data leaks is not something like when we talk about data leaks, I don't know why would somebody want to know about who is getting how much compensation for that. Like it isn't a matter. The data leak question does arise, Amlan, if I think if it was that we are clicking elephant photos and then uploading it, and then the
And
elephant
also, yeah, sending know abouts about the elephants. I think, yeah, but we're not
that
doing
could
that.
be,
It's mostly HEC getting documented. Yeah.
yes.
Mm.
Okay, thank you, Seema and Dr. Alolika. So we have our next question sent by Amit Kumar Bose. So the Indian Railways is using AI-driven alarm system in North Bengal after some horrible elephant deaths from trains. Can it be adapted into village level warning systems in Assam?
Yes, it can be adapted. At RNX still has a plan with Seema on board as well to use those technology to send, technology driven early warning system. Yeah, my clear cut answer will be yes, we can use AI as an early warning system, and that would, help reduce HEC at the village level. But it's not done at a very large scale now. I think AI is also being used in Jharkhand and in southern West Bengal now to as an early warning system by the forest department, so it's already in use.
Yes.
So, so is it
Sima, you would
used
like to add
in
to it?
Assam?
Yes, just Rubal,
Yeah.
can I add to it? I was just going to
Yes,
answer. Yeah, so I was just going to answer the same question by Amit Kumar Bose, and the
sure.
answer is that the cameras that the AI cameras driven alarm system they use are a specific company alarm systems that are used for Northern Bengal. Actually, when you look at elephants that come with, at least with railways, they are corridors, there are specific areas where they come out from. When it comes to village and all of that, the conflict is much bigger. So to put like conflict in the sense that where do they come out from? What is the corridors that they're coming out from? Like we were trying to map recently, only me and Amlan were trying to map where the elephants are coming to the villages, and everywhere, wherever you go, they're like, they're coming from here, they're coming from here, they're coming from here. How many cameras are you going to put? How many? So that's the whole major challenge that comes up out. Also, the AI is not that well. It's about 75% accurate. And when it comes to villagers and alert systems that you want to put, you wouldn't want to put 75% alert. Like it becomes like a system where they will be like, if the elephants are not coming, why are we getting to know? Until and unless there is a good level of accuracy. So we haven't reached that level of accuracy with AI. Hopefully in the next coming years, and because the way AI is moving now, like let's see Chat GPT and Perplexity AI and Cloud AI, and there are like multiple AIs. The way AI is moving and the way technology is moving, the quicker we will reach there. But we're still not yet there. That's the only answer that I have.
Thank you, Seema. So we have one more question from Mohan Sharma. So first of all, among the multi-layered issues that you have presented, I want to know how do you see science among the multi-layered agent? This is the first question. Second question is how science plays a key role in shaping the human-elephant conflict, and do science even sometimes play a negative role that emerges conflict?
Right, there's a series of questions, Mr. Mohan Sharma. Okay, I would like to. The first question is, how do you see science among the multi-layered agent? Of course, science
Yes.
plays a very, very important role. As I mentioned, that most of our interventions are data driven. We have applied, science. We have applied technology to understand the problem first, and then, go for a mitigation. Of course, science is a very important part to make informed decisions, be it understanding the population of the elephants, be understanding the behavior of the elephants, or if we are, trying to revive habitats, understanding the ecosystem. So all those cannot be done without science, and science plays a very important role. How science plays a key role in shaping the HEC? It definitely doesn't, shape HEC negatively. Rather, it helps in addressing the problems of HEC. Now we are talking about, to understand, Seema just mentioned about when she interacted with the villagers, there was information all over ki hathi charo taraf se aa raha hai, either elephants coming from this side or that side. But by having a concrete data, by using tools like radio coloring, that helps us understand the movement. And once we understand the movement pattern of the elephants, that will help us, in in pioneering solution, in implementing solution that can best suit that particular area without hampering the elephant movement. So yes, in mitigating and addressing the issues of human elephant conflict or human wildlife conflict, use of science and technology and other scientific tools are very, very important. And your last question is very interesting. Do science even sometimes plays a negative role? Well, if not intentionally, I would say. Suppose we were talking about acoustic, how we can use different sounds to ward off elephants from human habitation. That sometimes might have an impact. Suppose if it's a breeding season, and that there are these factors, the sound, the acoustics, that sound that we are using might affect the behavior of the elephants. So those are unintended consequence of sciences, but I do not know of example as of now in Assam or in India that has negative connotation to the ITC. Seema, you would like to add? Uh, there's
would
something
just
that
add,
I can't remember of now. Yeah.
I would just like to add on the last. Do science even sometimes play a negative role that emerges conflict? So when you look at, there are a lot of papers right now that's coming up for drones, camera traps, of negative impact of camera traps and drones that can have on HEC, in the sense that it kind of builds a fear within the community and has a negative builds a negative interactions towards the animals that they're interacting. And this also has this, that they look a little away from the forest department, as well as they look a little away from the NGO sector who are doing the camera traps or anything, because this camera traps becomes like a monitoring tools and certain monitoring. So it is not just science, but how technology is implemented can have a negative impact. And a lot of people now are talking about ethical use of technology, in the same
Yes.
way we should be, how are you going to use the technology is much more much more important, and what technology are you using is much more important. So yeah, of course science can play a negative role, but what kind of science are we talking about here? We might just talking about technology from that what we know of, but technology does have a negative role to play, but we could just try and make sure that it doesn't, you with a through an ethical perspective. Yes.
Thank you, Seema. So I would like to add on that not only science, actually everything has a positive role and negative role. So if you are not using it properly, so everything has its negative role also, and at the same time we have its positive role also. So our next question is it's from Rudra Banerjee. The land area used for plantation of native trees as elephant fodder, was it a private land or government plot?
Right. So the area where the restoration is happening is part of reserve forest. So I believe it's a government, it's another forest department. It's not a private land.
Thank you, Alolika. So we have one more question here. So it's from Muhammad Ismail Rafi. While taking a multi-stakeholder approach is multi-pronged approach is practical, are there behavioral assessments of elephant taken to have a site-specific approach? For instance, there are inter and intra-group differences in behavior of elephants when it comes to shared landscape and available resources. So I am wondering whether there were any studies conducted from that perspective. Thanks again.
Right. Yeah. So there are studies, not from by RNAC, but there are earlier studies which have shown that there are few individuals in a herd, or that comes in more confrontation with a people. So there are this few individuals that can cause that can cause a conflict. And yes, we have seen a difference in elephant behavior across different areas. I give you two examples from two different areas in Assam. If we talk about Gwalpara, which was down south on the southwestern part of Assam, the elephants there are more incidents of people being killed by elephants, even if they are unprovoked. People using vehicles on the roads, elephants come, charge them, and there are incidents of those kind of elephant deaths. And on the other hand, in eastern part of Assam, we have comparatively shy group of elephants. When they see people, they retreat back to their refuge, be it jungle or a river. But then there is no clear cut answer. I'm not suggesting that elephants are becoming rogue there, but there are other factors that kind of act upon this. The Gwalpara herd of elephant, they do not have a permanent refuge. They are under a lot of stress. Whatever forest patches are there, either they are too tiny to hold the elephant population, and most of those whatever forested patches are there are either monoplantation. There are not much resources for the elephants to eat. So factors like stress, accessibility can also impact the behavior, and that ultimately have a consequent impact on people as well. So there are studies elsewhere, but the behavioral studies from RNEC is very something very new that we have started in last 1.5 years. But yes, we have definitely seen a site specific behavior among the groups.
Thank you, Alolika. So we have all sorts of questions. I think we'll be waiting for some time, few minutes. I would like to request everyone so to type the questions in the chat box. At the same time, I would also like to ask Dr. Alolika. So you have been working both in Western Assam and Eastern Assam and almost in most of the districts. So what do you think actually? Have you seen any notice or any changes in the behavior of people who are supported with livelihood products? Do you think this behavior will remain same, or will it change after we have stopped providing them that alternative livelihood products?
Right. So the attitude of people towards elephants are also very inherent. There are certain, indigenous group which are more tolerant towards elephant, while others are not. I'm not naming any such group here, but I've seen working across different districts of Assam and parts of Meghalaya, the attitude of people are very inherent. Some people, and that's why we have both extremes. So we have Dangoria Puja, where people go and pray for elephants' well-being, and on the one hand we have the cases of elephant deliberately being electrocuted. So you see there is this range of a tolerance level towards elephants. So having said that, so there is this of course inherent belief and tolerance level. Coming to the livelihood, it's more of, as I said, that people are mostly from the very low economies. Until you secure your livelihood, until you have something on your platter to provide for your children, to provide for your parents, to provide for yourself, you cannot simply go and talk on conservation. So we have to secure their livelihood. The impact of supporting, supplementing livelihood to offset these losses might not be very immediate, like we support for 1 year and they turn into we won't kill elephant. That might not happen in overnight, but in the long run I do feel yes, when people have their needs prioritized and needs being made, they will make an extra effort for safeguarding the elephants. And we do have examples for this in a very remote area, again in Buxar district. It's called Santipur. It's in the Bhutan border area. To reach there in a normal day, you have to cross two rivers. There are no bridges, and monsoon, don't leave it, you just cannot reach them. So in that area we have our solar, there was not directly livelihood support, but we protected the crops by solar fences. So once we could secure their crops through solar fences, to after like first year, second year, and third year harvest, and post pandemic.
Hello. I think uh, there is
I
some
think,
network issue with Dr. Alolika.
yes, there is some network.
Seema.
Yeah, I can
Sure.
hear you. I can,
Okay.
yeah. I
So
think
she has
there's
some
some network.
network issue.
Yeah.
Okay, let's continue with it. So after a while, she will join. us again. So I think we have one more question here by Amit Kumar Bose. So don't you think it is imperative to construct or facilitate elephant corridors with neighboring districts and states, Assam?
Um, yes, Amit, I completely agree that that is the imperative to facilitate and construct. But there is the WTI Wildlife Trust of India report where they have mapped 101 corridors. Also, the definition of corridors is something that is ever evolving. Everybody keeps saying corridors, corridors, but what is corridors? For an hour or so, I had this discussion with, is it a few meters of land that we're talking about, or is it from one habitat to the other habitat? But how are the two habitats located? Is it from one habitat to a cropland that the elephants are crossing to? What is exactly a corridor? It's not, there are certain, everybody has their own kind of definition. What is generally accepted is what I'm going to quote. A corridor is basically a piece of land that connects one larger habitat to one smaller habitat or two larger habitats to one another. And there could be linear infrastructure or any of those roads that pass through these corridors. And certain corridors all across India are either not used, or some of them are very extensively used and some of completely not used. And we don't know, because these corridors, when we're talking about elephants per se, they kind of evolve in such a way that they will use new corridors over a period of time. Now, if I go to Kaziranga after 10 years, 15 years, the same elephants or the same individuals might not use the same area for crossing the habitat. They might be using something else to cross from one landscape like Kaziranga to Karbi Anglong. And that's the major problem that's happening, that we are seeing elephants in places that we've never seen them before. If you see videos right now of elephants in Haridwar crossing around in Dehradun, like some places that you've never thought about elephants before, or elephants in Guwahati city, for say, because they are also evolving their habitat. And of course, corridors will play a role for facilitating in the same sense of two habitats. But if the elephant's behavior also keep evolving per se, which was even Mohammed's question, I guess, that if you don't understand the animal behavior, and which is also an evolving thing, they're equally smart. So if they completely evolve, so it will become very difficult for people who work in this field as ecologists, that I say that this is the practice that you should do. I don't know how we'll be able to do it. I think Alolika is back. And thank you for that question. You're on mute, Alolika.
Hello? Yes. You're on mute. I think she's okay. She's not able to unmute. So
Alolika, you're not
there's some
able to.
kind of technical error here.
You've unmute yourself, but we can't still listen to you. You can.
Okay,
I'm
she is able to listen to us, but we are not able to listen to her. So I think, yeah. So you can join again. Just,
But do we have any more questions, Rubal? If not, can
uh,
we?
I don't think so. There are no more questions here. So
Okay,
I
let her
think,
join again.
huh,
Oh, okay. He's gonna join again.
okay, Seema, let her join in few minutes. So it
Let her.
was really a nice discussion and talk from you. And also to know all about the acoustic. I think you are on mute.
No, I'm not
No.
on mute. Am I
Okay,
audible?
okay. Yeah, you are audible
Yeah.
now.
It went
I
like
just
Alolika.
thought that I was unable to hear like that. Same like Alolika.
No, no, no. Mm.
So after she joins, we'll be
Do we have
waiting
any more
for.
questions?
No, we don't have any questions. More questions.
Okay.
So we'll be waiting for a few minutes. Then uh, let's
I
see
had
if
shitty
she
internet
has.
when I joined. I had shitty internet when I joined. I said I wouldn't be able to pass through this whole conversation without dropping off. And now Alolika in the end has dropped off. I took like
There is always an
4
issue with the internet actually. Even at my place, it's raining heavily, so I am unable to hear all the sounds clearly.
Oh yeah, here also it's raining heavily. Okay.
Alika has joined actually.
Hi, Alolika. I think now her video is turned off. uh, just for the interest of everybody who is there, Alolika, I think she joined and she dropped off again, or what?
She has dropped off again. So I think we are not having any more questions. So let's end up with this question and answer session. So thanks a lot, Seema, and even Dr. Alolika Sinha. So over to you, Himparna.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much for that Q&A session. I think the questions were very interesting and it was great to hear all the answers coming from our guest today. And I'd like to thank Dr. Surendra Verma sir and for this opportunity and also for building something like Friends of Elephants. All right, ma'am has joined us, ma'am.
Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
We can. Yeah.
I don't know what went wrong. Suddenly my computer shut down, and then I could hear you people, but just you cannot hear me. Sorry for the glitches. Technology apparently is not working standalone.
So
I reiterate.
so Alika, we had one more question. So you are not there. So if you would like to answer or add up, so here is the question. Don't you think it is imperative to construct or facilitate elephant corridors with neighboring districts and states?
Yeah, it is very important to re-establish those corridors, because neighboring state is just a political boundary and elephants do not know of that. And actually RNEC has those is working on those inter state cooperation. I mentioned an example of how the forest department of Assam in Gwalpara and the forest department of West Garo Hills in Meghalaya, we have bring them brought together. They're working in tandem, informing each other of the elephant population, monitoring the elephant hard. And now we have also done a joint survey to secure corridors to facilitate elephant movement. Yes, we must work across boundaries, be it transboundary or be it interstate boundary, to facilitate elephant.
Okay,
Yeah.
thanks, Alika. So we have one more question for Seema actually.
Hmm.
How difficult is it to work with the government officials and bring them on the same page? Are there any strategies for a effective way of communicating with the government bodies?
Okay, so after working with the forest department for a while, it works the other way around. If they need you, they will call you. Like when you, I've been trying to chase the forest department for years, saying that this is what we can try, this is what we should try, this are the technology that's available. Can you do this? Can you do that? All of that. Nothing works. It takes years and years with them because they can't see it. Okay. But then there is something major that happens. There is a conflict that happens. A human gets killed. There is two human gets killed in a period of time. Three, something of that sort happens. The government officials will come to you. Oh, you're told that this will work. No, somewhere like let's try this. This you thought this will work. No, okay, try this. So all the projects that have happened mostly, like the radio collarings, the work that we radio collar earlier, the elephants that have been radio collared, or any of those kind of, even the mitigation, even most of it comes from the government officials. So you keep pestering them saying that this is the work that you do and this is how you do. And I would say over a period of time, you build up a very good rapport with them, because they are also just people like us who've been struggling to do their work. And they have also been in this sector for a while, and it's difficult to manage. They are basically managers of forest, and we think that they just have to manage this much of land, but then they have so many people to manage. They have literally a lot of management issues, and currently the forest department mostly is short staff. So to understand that what they are struggling to is also a lot, we can just be a felicitator or enablers for them to work remote, like work with them. And it is a good journey. Like working with them is kind of like one of the best, like, cherishing experiences. And you do, I think RNF works great with the forest department, so do we. But yeah, in the beginning, in the initial phases, there will be a lot of backslash, because nobody knows you, nobody wants to work with you. But at the end, when conflict happens, or when they see the results, and when they really want to work with you, they do approach now for that. And now it's a two-way street. I guess Alolika can add to it, that how forest department, government officials does RNF work with.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with what you have just said. And also sometimes I think it's very important to show them the, go with that mithai ki thali, with that result, so that they instantly trust you. I'll give you an example of my grassland restoration work in Manas. So when we started that work, planting grasses, cutting out grasses, and removing invasives, things were not very, like not on a cherry of top thing. People didn't understand what I was doing for the first 3 or 4 years. But once we could, bring back the grassland in our experimental plots that turned from invasive plants to a complete grassland, that's what caught people's attention, the forest department attention. And thereon, it was institutionalized. There was this committees formed. So I think sometimes it's very important to show the results. And yeah, I completely agree. Like forest department has n number of other things to deal with. We can prioritize research, but they don't have to. That we have to bear in mind. For very initial years, people used to taunt me in a way, Alolika kya karti, Alolika ghas kaatti hai. And in Hindi, what ghas katna literally means you're doing nothing. But then those were the people who supported the work, which helped bring in government funding. So it is, this relationship is, you have to compete, always be on your toes, and you have to be considerate about certain factors. That research might be a priority for you, but not for them. So
Yes.
yeah.
So yes, just continue, Seema.
No, I was just going to say to you.
Okay. Thank you once again, Dr. Alolika Sinha and Mrs. Seema Lokhandwala, for sharing your experiences and also answering the questions with uh, examples and letting us know how all kind of works are being done to mitigate this human-elephant conflict and also to bring coexistence. So there are no more questions here, so we can end up with the question and answer session. So thank you once again. Over to you, Himparna.
Yeah. So thank you, Rubal. Himparna, just a moment. I was when I got cut off from the conversation, I was answering to Rubal's question. So in a very in a sentence, I would say that once we help those people protecting their crops, 3 years or 4 years down the line, they called us saying that they wanted to do something for the elephants, and we helped them with restoring the little bits of patches that was there. So yes, with some kind of incentive, there's always a reward, uh, but it's a matter of time. It doesn't happen overnight. That I would kind of flag off there.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you so much, sir. And I think through this session, we have come to know about how human-elephant conflict is such a multi-layered issue, and it requires multi-layered solutions as well, involving a lot of agencies. And we also got to know how science can be an agency in this. So at the end, I'd like to thank everyone for making time for this event. our guest, Alolika Sinha ma'am, Seema ma'am, Prabul sir, and Naveen sir for organizing this beautifully. Surendra Verma sir, I already thanked him and for this opportunity as well as for building something like Friends of Elephants. And they have been doing a great work, and we hope that such events continue even in the days to come. We would like to thank also Mr. Rohit Bhasi, who designed our poster. So every effort counts in making an event successful. And we shall be looking forward to more such engaging conversations in the days to come. And we thank our audience for being so engaging and putting up such interesting questions. Thank you, everyone. Take care and have a good night.
Thank you. Yeah, bye-bye.
Bye bye.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.
Thank you. Bye. I'm going to end the session.